Yes, good morning, everyone. Well, in the last lecture, we discussed about androecium, completed that topic. We move to the next, gynoecium, female reproductive world, that is called as gynoecium. The units of the gynoecium are called as carpels or pistil. You may call it as the carpel or pistil. There can be two possibilities in a flower with regard to the gynoecium setup. Possibility number one, monocarpellary condition of the flower, wherein the gynoecium is having only single carpel. Plants such as pea plant and many others, they have a single carpel in their gynoecium. The condition is called as monocarpellary condition. The second possibility is called multicarpellary condition. More than one carpels in a gynoecium of the given flower. In these plants, the flowers possess more than one carpels in their gynoecium. Within that, there are two options prevalent. One of them, let's say, syncarpous condition. Syn refers to union, joining. Carpus refers to carpels. Syncarpous condition refers to a setup wherein carpels are united to form a one unit. Carpels are united. That is that kind of a gynoecium. It is called as multicarpellary syncarpous condition. One such example, hibiscus, multicarpellary syncarpous condition. 5 carpels united to form a one common structure. Another example, Papaver somnifera. In this particular plant, it's a multicarpellary syncarpous condition. Again, several carpels fuse to form a one unit. The second possibility amongst the multicarpellary condition is apocarpus condition, termed as apocarpus condition, wherein multiple carpels are there. Each one is separate from the others within the same flower. So separate carpels within the gynoecium. That condition is called as multicarpellary apocarpus condition. One of the example quote given over here is Michelia. Other than Michelia, lotus plant, its flowers. Another one, rose, the flower of the rose, if you see. Michelia, lotus, rose. In these plants, the flowers are having multicarpellary apocarpus condition. If you look at the structure of a carpel, which is also identified as pistil, typically there has to be 3 parts in it: stigma, style, ovary. Obviously, the distal part of the carpel, the proximal part, is called as ovary, which is rested on the thalamus. This must be rested on the thalamus, like this. And then you have other whorls over there. So this is the thalamus on which the ovary is rested. So this is at its proximal end and stigma is at its distal end. The stigma is a flattened structure. It is a flattened structure, a platform to receive the pollen grain. This is the one on which pollen grains will be received. So that is a very important component of the carpel. Then comes long, slender, thin tubular structure that is called as style. In some cases, it is compact. In some others, it may be hollow structure. It finally ends up at bulbous region at the base of this carpel, which is called as ovary. It's a bulged part, it's a swollen part which is rested on the uh, thalamus, that is called as ovary. This ovary carries chambers which are called as locules. If you, for example, if you take a sectional view of the ovary, you might see the kind of chambers over there in it. And within these chambers, there can be seeds in it. Now, these seeds are obviously ovules, I would say, in an immature state. They are the ovules rather. So this is the locule, the chamber of the ovary. The whole stuff is an ovary in a sectional view. Each chamber is called as locule, and inside this locule, ovules are developed, and ovules develop remaining attached to this part of it, which is called as placenta, the part in the ovary wall which gives rise to ovule, or you can say ovules remain attached to this cushion-like structure within the ovary wall. This is called as placenta. Placenta is a cushion-like soft tissue within the ovary wall or within the ovary. Remaining attached to it are the ovules present over there. In some cases, the ovary possesses a single ovule altogether. That is a possibility. Like in case of mango, like in case of wheat, paddy, etc. Single ovule within the ovary. That's a one possibility. The second possibility is that there are multiple ovules within the ovary. Example, papaya, watermelon, orchids, etc. Look, ovules are going to turn into seeds. So all those fruits which are single seeded, example, mango and others which I talked about, in their cases, you can say that their flowers in their ovaries possessed single ovule. If you look at the fruit of papaya, watermelon, orange, etc., they have a multiple seeds. That means their flowers in their ovary possessed large number of ovules over there. So it can be a single ovule or it can be more than one ovule within the ovary. That's all about it. 5 seconds given. If you have any question, you can frame it. Otherwise, we can move to the next one then. Okay, no question is coming from your side. So we can revise and go to the next then after. The female reproductive whorl of a flower is termed as gynoecium, correct? Dhruvi, first one. The units of gynoecium have two names. Yes, Halley. Pistil and carpel, correct answer. Based on the number of carpels, there are two possibilities in gynoecium. first possibility with example. With example, yeah. Devanshi has written this. Monocarpellary with example P. And then when you have a more than one carpels, the setup is called as multicarpellary condition. What is the term used if these carpels are united and with few examples of the same? Examples of the same. With example, no one is writing so far. Yes, Priya and Dhruti. Syncarpus with examples papaver and hibiscus. How about these carpels are free from each other with examples Apocarpus, lotus, and rose. Priya was the first one here. Also, one more example, Michelia. A typical carpel has three parts in it. Which is the distal part of it? Distal. I used, yeah, Mrunali and others. Stigma is its distal part. What is the role of stigma in the carpel? All of you should participate. Highly correct. To receive the pollen grains, it's a platform. Then you have an elongated slender part called style, a passage through which the male gametes will pass down from the stigma through the style up to the ovary. And the proximal part, the bulged part, is ovary. This basal region of the pistil, what you call its chambers as, its chambers are called Krisha and Asta, correct? Locules. They are termed as locules. And the cushion-like tissue within it, that's called placenta heli, correct? From which develops what? Yes, diksha, ovules. In which cases one ovule is to be found in the given ovary? Single ovule containing ovaries found in which flower? Wheat, mango, harshil, heli, all of you are correct. And in which cases more number of ovules within the ovary? Dhruti and Dhruvi. Dhruti and Dhruvi. Yep, correct. Papaya, watermelon, and orchids. Our next topic, megasporangium. In a male, we talked about microsporangium. Here we are going to talk about megasporangium, the ovule. Okay, a megasporangium, that is called as an ovule. Here we have on the screen the diagram of a typical ovule, specifically anatropous ovule. At the end of the topic, remind me to explain to you what is anatropous category of the ovule. Now, first of all, megasporangium is also identified as ovule. The ovule is a structure attached to the placenta. आप imagine करो कि ये एक ovary है, and here is your ovule, and this ovule remains attached to the placenta. This is your placenta. So you can see that your ovule remains attached to the ovary by the cushion-like tissue named as placenta. This ovule remains attached to the placenta by the means of a stalk, and this stalk is called as funicle. The stalk, which is a connection between the placenta and the ovule, is called as funicle. How many are clear with this term funicle? The ovule is a small structure that shall remain attached to the placenta by the means of stalk called funicle. Okay, the point where this funicle remains attached, this is that funicle, the stalk. The point where this funicle remains attached to the ovule, that part is termed as hilum. That is termed as hilum. Let me explain this hilum. The body of the ovule fuses with funicle in the region that is called as hilum. Hilum is that part on the surface of the ovule wherein this funicle remains attached over there to the ovule. That that junction between ovule and funicle is represented as hilum. एक साइड पे ओव्यूल है, एक साइड पे फ्यूनिकल है, दोनों के बीच में अटैचमेंट है. ये अटैचमेंट का पॉइंट, ये यूनियन की साइट, दैट इज टर्म्ड एज हाइलम. The body of the ovule fuses with the funicle in the region that is called as hilum. It indicates the union of ovule and funicle. I hope you have understood the same. Then comes integuments. Each ovule has at least one or two integuments. If I say that this is the ovule, then here you can make out this is the one and here is the second. So literally there are two integuments around this 1 minute. So there are two integuments that can be seen over here. So each ovule is normally protected by at least one or maybe two integuments which give it covering and protection. Acha. Integuments encircle the almost entire nucellus. Now this stuff within the ovule, it is known as nucellus, a specialized tissue. You know, this is equivalent to sporogenous tissue of microsporangium. Microsporangium's sporogenous tissue and megasporangium's nucellus are equivalent. These two integuments, these two are integuments. They envelop the nucellus and together they make what is called as ovule. This much is an ovule. A nucellus tissue encircled by the two integuments, that makes it ovule. The two integuments encircle the nucellus entirely. As you can see, this entire nucellus is encircled by these two integuments, except one small aperture. Can you make out this aperture? That is termed as micropyle. That aperture is called as micropyle. That pole of the ovule is called as micropylar pole. That is called as micropylar pole. And the pole opposite to it, that is called as chalaza pole of the ovule. This represents the basal region of the ovule. This is the basal region of the ovule from where integuments start encircling the nucellus and cover it up except one tip of it, that is called as micropylar aperture. Are you all clear? Let's go forward. Within the integuments, this cell mass, diploid cell mass that is been encircled, it is termed as nucellus. This is what is called as nucellus. You must get familiarized with this term nucellus. If somebody asks you what is the nucellus, your answer should be like this. In an ovule or a megasporangium, the cell mass that remains encircled by the integuments, it is termed as nucellus. Then if somebody asks you that initially the nucellus is having what type of ploidy, you can say the nucellus cells are diploid in nature. So that is about the nucellus. Speciality, these cells are having abundant reserve food material in it. The cells are rich in nutrients. Within the nucellus, a sac is developed, and this sac within the nucellus, have a look. The red boundary indicates the nucellus stuff, and the yellow boundary that indicates is that within this nucellus stuff, there is a sac-like structure. This sac-like structure is called as embryo sac. This is nothing but the female gametophyte of a flower. This is termed as female gametophyte. Mind you, this nucellus in a immature or in a young stage. आप imagine करें कि ये young stage का nucellus है. उसके around में भी दो integuments है. उसका भी funicle, hilum and all that stuff is there. Within this, throughout there are diploid cells rich in nutrients. That stuff is termed as nucellus. And same structure after a maturity develops a sac which is called as embryo sac or a female gametophyte. Young ovule, mature ovule. Young ovule without embryo sac, mature ovule with an embryo sac. That's the difference between the two. So within the nucellus develops the embryo sac, or it is also termed as female gametophyte. The last aspect regarding this, ovules can be of different shapes, and based on that, their arrangements, their shapes, they can be of a different categories. 6 to 7 different categories of ovules are there. It's a topic of self-study, the types of ovules based on its structural aspects, its arrangement. That's a self-study. That's the topic needed for NEET exam preparation. So those who are preparing for NEET should go for it. The others should avoid it. But the one term that is given related to it, and that is called as anatropous category of ovule. The ovule in which the funicle, the micropyle, and the chalaza, they are in a same axis. They are in a same axis, then it is called as anatropous category of ovule. I don't need to go in further more details of the same. You to just have to remember that anatropous ovule, it's just one category of ovule wherein the chalaza and micropyle and funicle, they are in a single axis almost. That is termed as anatropous type of ovule. There is something like hemitropous, and different varieties are there of the ovule, which those who prepare for the NEET should get it from the books over there, the reference books or even internet. It's a source of this same aspect. Well, I have completed the topic of megasporangium. You may even call it as the ovule. I'm giving you an opportunity to ask a question. If you have any, feel free to ask questions. First of all, before you ask question, let me take you to the diagram part first. Is that diagram? Okay, I got it. Okay, now you can ask your questions. If you have any question, go ahead. Yes, nothing to ask. Can you repeat the chalaza poll? Didn't understand. If this is the ovule, in this ovule, here is the nucellus, here is the embryo sac. As you can see that the nucellus is enveloped by the integuments. It's been enveloped by the integuments over there. Except one point, these integuments cover up the entire nucellus. This point is, जैसे ये दो integuments nucellus को completely envelop करते हैं, except this point. This point is called as, this aperture is called as micropyle. This end of the ovule is called micropylar end. An end of the ovule opposite to that is called as chalaza end. That is accepted as the basal region of the ovule, whereas micropyle is accepted as top region, uppermost region of the ovule. Priya, is this clear now? Anyone else with any doubts? Okay, no one is posting any question. It seems you have understood. Let me revise by asking this thing. Point number 1. Megasporangium's another name. It is also identified as what? An ovule. Now all of you should participate. It's for you, not for me. This topic is very important from exam point of view. Believe me, if there is a board exam, there will be a question from this topic. The megasporangium is their most favorite topic. Particularly in theory exam, they do ask question from the same. Even diagram is necessary. In fact, at the end of the lecture, you all will have to compulsorily draw this diagram and show it to us. If time will be left within the lecture, if time will not be left, later on you will prepare and show it to us before evening. You will send it to Bindia ma'am's number. So note down, this is your homework. Diagram of megasporangium, anatropous ovule, the megasporangium. This is the one which you have to prepare and show it to us anyhow before today. Otherwise, no entry in the next lecture. Coming back to this megasporangiums, another name is an ovule. Within the ovary, ovule will remain attached to which structure of the ovary via funicle? Yes, Kea, Dhruvi, correct. Placenta. Mind you, ovule remains attached to the ovary via funicle, but with the at the point where it is remaining attached, that point is called placenta, or reverse if you see. Ovule remains attached to the placenta by the means of a stalk that is called as, that stalk itself is called as funicle. Nandini, correct. That is termed as funicle. The body of the ovule fuses with the funicle, and that region of the that region is called as which one of the ovule? Yes, hilum. Prusti, Krisha, and all correct. Hilum actually indicates the junction between dash and dash. It indicates the junction between, yes, Pusti, correct. Ovule and funicle. That junction is hilum. Each ovule is protected by at least one or two protective layers. What you call them as? Srishti and Nandini, correct. Integuments. You see, the cell mass containing bag called nucellus is entirely enveloped by these two integuments, except one small aperture or one small point where it is not covered. That is called as what? Yes, Krisha, correct. It's called micropyle. That's termed micropyle. And opposite end of the micropylar region of the ovule, that is termed as which one? Chalaza end. Correct. Chalaza pole, Chalaza end. That's correct. And within the integuments, enclosed within the integuments, is a cell mass called as which one? Yes, nucellus. Devanshi and Dhyani and all correct. It is termed as nucellus. Nucellus of the megasporangium is equivalent to dash of microsporangium. Yes, Astha and Swati, correct. Sporogenous tissue, isn't it? And this nucellus is haploid, diploid, or a triploid. Yes, Astha, correct. It is a diploid material. And it is rich in reserve food material over there. Within this nucellus, a small bag is developed which will carry the female gamete. What you call this one as? Yes, Prachi and Shruti and others. Correct. It's the embryo sac. An embryo sac is equivalent to dash. Yep, highly correct. Female gametophyte. A very good active participation on your part, but some of you are still not participating. Very disappointed from the point of view of those who are not participating, and very appreciable for those who are very actively, rapidly, and correctly replying for each and every question. I don't want to name one or two because many are nowadays participating. So you guys yourselves know that you are participating. That's a good thing. Keep it up. Now, before we go to the next one, which is a little longer one, let's have a break for 4-5 minutes so that without interruption, the next topic can be studied in a detail. So break for 5 minutes. Madam, stop the recording for a while. Let's talk about next topic, megasporogenesis. Topic is megasporogenesis. See, the process of formation of megaspores from the megaspore mother cell. Let's say that this is the megaspore mother cell, and these are the megaspores. This process of formation of megaspores from the megaspore mother cell, that is termed as megasporogenesis. That is termed as megasporogenesis. Ovules generally differentiate single megaspore mother cell within the ovule inside the nucellus. Only one megaspore mother cell will be formed. Unlike that, in a sporogenous tissue of microsporangium, you remember each cell is a potent microspore mother cell. Entire cell mass of the sporogenous tissue. Each cell is a potent, capable of behaving as pollen mother cell. Unlike that, in this case, within the nucellus, जैसे ये nucellus mass है, आपको imagine करना पड़ेगा. Within this nucellus mass, only one cell closer to the micropylar end, of the embryo sac. It differentiates into what is termed as megaspore mother cell. Now, is there anyone who is not clear with this? Please let me know. Before this is the nucellus status. See, this is the nucellus in a immature stage. And now when it has to develop the embryo sac, one of the cell of this nucellus, mostly towards micropylar end, it differentiates into what is known as megaspore mother cell. And that cell will soon give rise to 4 megaspores by the process called as megasporogenesis. This one cell is a very large cell. It contains a very dense cytoplasm and a prominent nucleus. And it is this particular cell within the nucellus that will undergo meiosis. Meiosis, you know, reduction division number 1 and reduction division number 2. This results into formation of 4 haploid megaspores over there. 4 haploid megaspores are formed within the nucellus through this meiosis. This process is identified as megasporogenesis. This is termed as megasporogenesis. Now, further development of megaspores into the embryo sac can be done in a different ways. One of the way what we are learning here is the one in which only one megaspore will remain functional. Remaining 3 megaspores will degenerate. These 3 will degenerate. Only one will remain functional here. This particular megaspore, what is called as a functional megaspore, it will give rise to embryo sac. This process is identified as monosporic development. This is termed as monosporic development over there. Have you got it? One functional megaspore giving rise to an embryo sac or a female gametophyte. It is called as monosporic development. How many are not clear with what I have explained? Megasporogenesis and further monosporic development. Okay, how many are not clear with this stuff? At least you should give reply in any one of these two. That would help us to understand whether you have followed or not. Please understand that this is the nucellus cell mass. Within that, one cell closer to the micropylar end, it develops into what is called as megaspore mother cell. If you see the stage before this, it would be a nucellus. Entire stuff is nucellus. But here onwards, you can see there is one cell within the nucellus, which is called as megaspore mother cell. This megaspore mother cell goes through meiosis. First meiosis, 2 haploid cells from this diploid cell, and subsequent meiosis number 2, the divisions back to back. So in this case, further it will form 4 cells. All 4 are haploid cells and they are called as microspores. The way sporogenous tissue cells called pollen mother cell or microspore mother cell going through meiosis, it will produce 4, my mistake here. The way it produces 4 microspores, here megaspore mother cell through meiosis, it will produce 4 megaspores and that too haploid. That one was microsporogenesis. This is called megasporogenesis. Is this clear up to this point now? यहाँ तक clear है concept? Now the point is that in case of male gametophyte development, each of the microspore is capable of further development and giving rise to male gametophyte. Unlike that, in our this female system of the plant, out of the 4, 3 megaspores degenerate. Only one is left as a functional megaspore to contribute into female gametophyte development. अगर आपको अंडरस्टैंडिंग होता है तो आप इमेजिन करें, मैंने आपको एक्सप्लेन किया था कि per meiosis in a male member, 4 gametes or 4 gametophytes develop, because each microspore can develop one male gametophyte. In case of female, the meiosis results into 4 cells, but out of that only one remains functional, so that leads to only one gametophyte development. So always remember this fact. इसको लिख लेना कहीं पे. That we were discussing about the megasporogenesis, how one megaspore gives rise to 4 haploid, one megaspore mother cell, a diploid one, how it undergoes meiosis and produces 4 haploid megaspores, and out of that 3 degenerate and 1 is left. That one left is a functional megaspore. From that single functional megaspore, when embryo sac or female gametophyte develops, that process is known as monosporic development. That is termed as monosporic development. अच्छा, एक optional arrangement आपको explain करता हूँ. Instead of that, if 2 cells were degenerated and 2 megaspores would have been left as a functional, and if they would have given rise to the female gametophyte, one option, out of the 4, 3 degenerate, 1 is left, and that one gives rise to a female gametophyte. That is called as monosporic development of a female gametophyte. If 2 were degenerated and 2 functional megaspores were left, if they had given rise to female gametophyte, it is called as bisporic development. And all 4 would have been left, none of them would have been degenerated. And if all 4 would have formed the female gametophyte, that female gametophyte would have been known as tetrasporic development. Khushali ma'am?
Yes, sir.
એમને છે મારે છે ને બ્રેક લેવો પડશે 5 મિનિટ્સ. તમે
હા
એમના કોઈ ડાઉટ્સ હોય તો એ સોલ્વ
હા
કરાવો અને આ ટોપિક નું રિવાઇઝ કરાવી દો. ઓકે?
હા હા હા.
હા.
Students, do you have any doubt?
મેમ રેકોર્ડિંગ સ્ટોપ કરી દો અને થોડી મિનિટ માટે રિવાઇઝ કરાવી દો ને એ લોકોને.
હા હા સર, કરાવી દો. Students, do you have any doubt in today's topic? Okay. First, this megasporogenesis topic. Okay, megasporogenesis. Can you give me the definition first of all of this megasporogenesis? Quickly. Yes, formation of megaspore from short MMC, right? Megaspore mother cell. Good. Next. Correct. All are correct. Now in that, so first of all, remember that the female reproductive part in flower we called ovary. Inside the ovary, ovule is present. Equivalent term to that ovule that we call the megasporangium. Megasporangium, inside that megasporangium, that embryo sac or female gametophyte structure is formed, right? Now, so see, in megasporangium, structure of megasporangium, outside covering parts, right? Two and protective envelopes are that we call. Chalo, quickly write down. Outside two protective envelopes are there that we call. Correct. Very good. Integuments. Next. Inside the integum, that integuments encircle the which part of the ovule? Integuments encircle the which part of the ovule? Nucellus, but except that micropylar region. Okay, remember that. Next, so this nucellus, okay, this nucellus, inside the cells are the nucellus. See, nucellar cells are there. Out of this all nucellar cell, one of the cell that behaves as a megaspore mother cell. This megaspore mother cell, can you tell me, undergoing which cell division? Correct, meiosis, right? So megaspore mother cell is haploid or diploid? Ayushi, diploid लिखा and that yes, diploid, right? This diploid megaspore mother cell undergoes meiosis and form four megaspores, right? By meiosis, one, two cells, and by when meiosis, entire meiosis completed, that four megaspores that we call megaspore tetrads are formed. They are haploid or diploid? They are haploid, right? Now, out of these four megaspores, remember, three are degenerated. Three megaspores are degenerated. Only the one becomes the functional megaspore. Okay, only the one becomes the functional megaspore. Rest all are rest three are degenerated. Remember, and this three that the one which becomes the functional megaspore, the one which becomes the functional megaspore, that converts into that female gametophyte or the embryo sac. Okay. Next, define multicarpellary condition. Multicarpellary condition meaning, yes, more than one carpel. Can you give me any example of flower in which this multicarpellary condition is present? Correct, rose, that is pepper. Next, either multicarpellary or monocarpellary. Mono meaning single carpel is present. Now, if multicarpellary, this thing is further divided into two. Either they are free from each other or fused to each other. If fused, we call syncarpous condition, and if free, that we call apocarpous condition. Multicarpellary syncarpous condition present in hibiscus, correct? Then yes, hibiscus, papaver somniferum, right? It's the scientific name of that khaskhas. So that's a papaver somniferum. Next, apocarpus, multicarpellary apocarpus condition. Correct. Very good. Devanshi. Lotus, rose, mycelia. Right. Next. Which is the basal part of the pistil? Part पूछा and नहीं पूछा, हाँ ovary. Basal and of ovule आता है तो चला सा. Basal part of the ovary, basal part of the pistil, then it should be the which one? Ovary, right? Next. हाँ sir.
Yeah, I'm back. Fine. Students, have any issues regarding what is megasporogenesis and what is monosporic development?
Sir.
હા madam.
સર હજુ પણ છે ને તમારો વોઇસ થોડો સ્લો બહુ આવે છે.
એક મિનિટ, હા, હોલ્ડ ઓન. What to do? Hello. Audible now? Clear?
No, sir, very slow.
What can be the reason for that?
Sir, but it's okay.
I will join once again. No, I'll make you host.
Okay.
I leave the meet and join again. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
You got to make me host again.
And sir, make me co-host.
Just a minute. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So our next topic is the formation of male gametophyte. Formation of female gametophyte. Formation of female gametophyte. How the female gametophyte develops from that single functional megaspore. That is our next topic. The nucleus of the functional megaspore, you have to consider that this is the nucellus sac. Inside this, there is a functional megaspore, a haploid cell produced through the end of meiosis. Out of the four, the only one that survived, that is a functional megaspore. Its nucleus undergoes repetitive mitotic divisions. The nucleus of this functional megaspore divides mitotically now. First of all, it forms the two nuclei. One will start moving towards micropylar end, other one will start moving towards the chelaza end of the nucellus, of the embryo sac rather. First mitotic division takes place over here. Then second mitotic division, in which now 4 nuclei come into existence. Third mitotic division is the one in which 8 haploid nuclei come into existence. So an embryo sac becomes 8 nucleate stage. Interestingly, all these 3 mitotic divisions, back-to-back mitotic divisions that took place, they were free nuclear divisions. Question is, what is free nuclear division? See, in all these mitotic divisions, the nucleus had gone for division. Karyokinesis happened, but cytokinesis didn't happen. It was only nuclear division that was not followed immediately by the cytoplasmic division. So no cell wall formation, no cytoplasm division. That did not take place over here. So within common cytoplasm, all 8 nuclei are formed over here. That's how the female gametophyte develops. Later on, the cell wall is laid down around these nuclei, and that leads to the formation of female gametophyte with 8 nuclei like this ultimately. Up to here, only nuclear division, 1 to 2, 2 to 4, and 4 to 8. Mitosis 1, mitosis 2, mitosis 3. From one nucleus, 8 nuclei come into existence. Free nuclear division. Only nuclei divide and get separated from each other. Free nuclear division. No cytokinesis, no cell wall formation. So no cells come into existence. When this 8 nuclei around which cell wall is laid down, then comes this female gametophyte coming into existence at the end of that process. That's how the female gametophyte or embryo sac is developed, organizing those 8 nuclei with the cell wall being laid around them. Out of this 8 nuclei, the 6 of them, they remain surrounded by the cell wall, and here they are. Those 6 of them. Out of the 8 nuclei over here, 6 of them getting surrounded by cell wall laid down around them. Remaining 2 nuclei in the center of the embryo sac. Remaining 2 nuclei in the center of the embryo sac. These 2 nuclei are known as polar nuclei. They are termed as polar nuclei. Just below the egg apparatus structure. And the cell in which they are now present, that cell itself is named as central cell. You can see the cluster of these 3 cells at one end. You can see the cluster of these 3 cells at the other end. This is about those 6 nuclei. But you can see that the 2 nuclei at the center, known as polar nuclei, they remain surrounded in a large cell which is named as central cell. If you see carefully, as per the number of nuclei, there are 8 nuclei in this embryo cell. But as far as cells are concerned, there are 7 cells in the embryo cell, because all these remaining cells are haploid, 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 haploid cells. But one cell at the center, and that is with the 2 haploid nuclei. This is the diploid cell. So 6 haploid cells, each with one nucleus, and one cell is diploid with 2 nuclei. That is how the embryo sac is organized. A very unique characteristic distribution of these cells takes place within the embryo sac, in which 3 nuclei at chelaza and 3 nuclei at micropylar and 2 nuclei at the central region of the embryo sac. This pattern of nuclei arrangement is called as 3 plus 2 plus 3 pattern of the nuclear arrangement. If you see that the 3 cells which are grouped at the micropylar end, these 3 cells they are referring to. Together they form the structure named as egg apparatus. This egg apparatus, if you see carefully, in which there is one haploid cell named as an egg cell, and the 2 cells around it are known as synergid cell, each one haploid. So it's a group of 3 cells together known as egg apparatus. One haploid egg cell, so the speciality of the synergid cells is that they have a cellular thickening with them towards the micropylar end. This is called as filiform apparatus. This stuff is called as filiform apparatus. When the pollen tube comes down in this region, carrying the male gametes, it has to enter inside the embryo sac. An entry of this pollen tube inside the embryo sac, that is been guided by, facilitated by this filiform apparatus. So the 2 cells called synergids, these 2 haploid cells near the egg cell, are very essential, as each of them possesses a cellular thickening towards its micropylar tip named as filiform apparatus. And this filiform apparatus plays significant role in guiding the pollen tube inside the embryo sac via synergids. Through the synergids, the pollen tube will enter inside the embryo sac. The remaining 3 cells at the upper end, they are called as antipodals. 3 haploid cells at the chelaza end are known as antipodals. So this is how this 6 cells are there. And if you see the last cell at the center with 2 haploid nuclei together called as polar nuclei, so that cell is known as central cell. So if you observe it carefully, it's all about It's all about 8 nucleate and 7-celled embryo sac, or you may say gametophyte, the female gametophyte. A female gametophyte or an embryo sac made up of 8 nuclei, or else you may call it as the 7 cells. 8 nuclei, then 3 towards chalaza and 2 towards the middle of the embryo sac and 3 towards micropylar end. But when you talk about these cells, this is about the nuclei. When you talk about the cells, 3 antipodal cells towards chalaza end, 1 central cell, and 3 cells together forming egg apparatus towards the micropylar end. This is about the cells. 7 cells or else 8 nuclei, whichever way you want to see. This is the female gametophyte or female embryo sac. Well, the topic is completed. If you have any question, you may ask. If you will ask, I will revise from the top point. If you say in between, from there also I can explain. Any question? Okay, you have no questions. Anyone wants me to repeat the whole stuff? The function of filiform apparatus, somebody asked, is to guide the pollen tube enter inside the embryo sac via synergy. Pollen tube is attracted by the filiform apparatus. So the pollen tube will grow towards it. Instead of going down, it will grow towards it. And through the filiform apparatus via synergy, the pollen tube will enter inside this and will release the male gametes. So the function of the filiform apparatus is to guide the pollen tube enter in the synergid and open inside the embryo sac. Next question. Now, as far as the homework is concerned, you may note down the homework, all of you, which you will send later on. Homework includes the diagram of an ovule or megasporangium, and second, the diagram 2.8 in the textbook. Entire diagram 2.8 in the textbook. That is your homework for the day. You show by tonight, and you are allowed to enter in the lecture for the next time. If you do not, then you will not be allowed to enter in the lecture. That is the simple understanding you should develop. Diagram. Have any doubts regarding your homework? To be sent to Bindya ma'am. Madam, stop the recording now.